Hey, Chuck, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Randy. Great to see you.
Excellent. Great to see you as well. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Well, everybody, this is episode 186 of Tech Sales Insights. Really excited to have a longtime friend and Sales Community Advisory Board member, Chuck Smith, with us. He is in the IBM Infrastructure Group as VP of Business Development. The Infrastructure Group is one of three divisions of IBM these days. For those that aren't keeping track, infrastructure, services, and software. And we have a great title topic called GTM Tips. So definitely look forward to that. We're sponsored today by Sandler. That's a sales training sponsor of Sales Community. So if you want to learn more and everybody needs more development, needs more training, definitely look up Sandler. Definitely in the weeds of all different areas, but especially doing a lot these days with first line managers who have been overlooked a lot with COVID, getting promoted sometimes, whether they deserve it or not. So doing a lot there, as well as executive level and individual contributor, SDR, BDR level. And for those that are members of Sales Community, thanks. For those that are not, Tucker will throw up a free membership link, we think. But I know we've got a new thingy here that LinkedIn adjusted, so I forgot we may not be able to do it. Sorry. But anyway, we got Tucker behind the scenes here, always helping us. So Tucker, thank you so much. So by way of introduction, Chuck and his family live in Houston in the Woodlands area. He's got a wonderful wife, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, 1, 3, and 4. So that's got to be exciting.
Lots of activity.
Awesome. And sports fan of the Texans, the Longhorns, and the Dodgers. So you got to be pretty excited about the Dodgers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially game 1, bottom of the 9th. Pretty nice.
Amazing. And I don't know if I told you, actually I grew up a diehard Yankee fan, and then with EMC kind of lived around the world and ended up back in Boston. So somewhere along the way, I converted to be a Red Sox fan. But
that's a pretty strange conversion. That's
yeah, I didn't know how or what happened. So
yeah.
Interesting. And Tucker, if you want to throw up, we have a picture we're going to try and show. You can throw that up anytime here if you think that's going to work or not. But anyway, so we're trying to figure out, we first met each other, I think back in 2009 when I first went to HP. We're terrific partners in crime. I was kind of more on the sales side, you're more on the product side, but definitely always helpful, useful, always very engaging. You know, a lot of times the bigger companies, it's easier in your positions to say, sales, you go figure out yourself. But, you know, where it was customers or problems or big deals or any channel partners we're trying to do things with, there's certainly a lot of, new product announcements and programs that you did. You were always an awesome resource. So for people that know me, I don't say that too often. So you are a rare breed for sure. So thanks for all of that.
You got it.
Really good.
Well, I mean, I always saw sales as my client, really, from a business development and product perspective. So
there you go. Well, not everybody does.
Yeah.
So to help me also with intro comments, I have notes from some mutual friends. McLeod Glass, who's with you at IBM, said Chuck grew up in LA and is a lifelong Dodgers fan. So he's the one that actually gave me the photo that I guess we can't pull up, but he has one from the 2017 World Series against the Astros. And there's another one when you did a Dodger camp in 2003, but the one against the Astros is your kind of basically up like that. And if I had my act together, I would have had a plan B to show it on my phone. Here we go. So actually, I don't know if that's going to work, but let's see. It kind of goes backwards. But there you go. How's that?
There it is. Yeah. That was the infamous trash can game where
there you go. All right, that worked. So McLeod, thanks for that. And he goes on to say, love Chuck and great that you're having him on. He's ultimate team player. Not sure he has the mobility to play third base, though thinking he's probably more of a DH. From Rob Schaefer, Chuck Smith, a very bright and talented leader, my mentor and friend that always delivers when needed. His taste in wine is as red as his hair on his head. You got to kind of maybe bend down for us to see. Although I know you just did a head shaving for cancer last month, so I'm very jealous here.
High and tight.
It's grown back like it has. And he goes on to say, nothing better than a conversation with Chuck over a beautiful, bold Cabernet that leaves us in a better place. Scott Dunsire says, when I was running the Americas channels for HPE, Chuck was running the server business unit. It was great to have a special relationship with him, and the product teams as a sales leader is uber important. Chuck was one of the few product category leaders who truly worked to understand the sales customer perspective. It wasn't just about his P&L. It was about doing the right thing for the customer and our partners. On top of that, he's a pretty damn good guy to have a beer with too, which is a real sniff test. Totally agree. Bill Swales says, I've always valued my partnership with Chuck. He is an executive who has broad global perspective, deep customer understanding, and a can-do mindset in everything that he does. It was such a pleasure to work. It was such a pleasure to work with Chuck at HPE, where we set records together by delivering the highest x86 market share results ever. As a fellow Eagle Scout and graduate of Northwestern University Kellogg Graduate School of Business, which is located in my hometown of Evanston. This is Bill Swales saying this, not Randy. Chuck's moral compass and global business perspective is always something that I have admired and cherished. From Al Chen says, Chuck is a consummate vendor partner. He's great to partner with and always seeks a win-win in difficult situations. Chuck is creative when considering channel programs that will benefit the manufacturer as well as the reseller. So pretty good. You can, I'll send them to you. You can tape them on your fridge.
That's excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate it, all you guys. Thank you.
Really good. So jumping into questions. So you went to Pitzer College in 1984.
In Claremont,
and, second row rugby. So as a rugby player, I love that. Went to Claremont Graduate University, focused in MIS and IT. And one of your first jobs out of school was at Deloitte & Touche.
That's right. Yeah.
And what were you doing there?
I mean, we actually co-development, project delivery on, a variety of like commercial systems. Worked for, Hughes Missile Group. I worked for, state of California, city of Los Angeles, a couple of, so Unical, oil and gas. So consulting delivery, really. I was at that time a junior member of the team.
Right.
Yeah, I was a grunt. So yeah, 70 to 80 hours a week, and go where they tell you.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then maybe quickly go through your impressive career from there.
Yeah, I mean, went from Deloitte to a small boutique consulting in the LA area. Then went and got my MBA at night, working for a company called Bell and Howell in the Chicago area. And then after getting my MBA, I moved to Houston, moved the family to Houston, and I've got Houston roots, but my mom was born in Houston and went to Rice. So went to join Compaq, and then HP bought Compaq, and I was with Compaq and HP for 20 years, but a bunch of different roles. I was in the sales, I was in product development, I was in product management, P&L ownership. That's where you and I met. I was in the global blade role and the global sales role. So that's HP. Then I left HP and went out on my own for a year, and then was CEO at a startup, a data platform company, Apron Data Systems. We tried to get funded but couldn't, so we ended up closing down the company and selling it for small dollars. But then I went to work for Cisco for a couple of years, as well as some consulting with Dell and AWS, and then joined IBM in April of 22, and I've been there just shy of 2.5 years. So.
Nice. And you've been doing a lot of great things, but in particular, recent program around the as a service, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So one of the primary projects that I was brought on to work, with McLeod, as you mentioned, and Rick Lewis, who runs the infrastructure group, is trying to pivot our business to an as a service. So how do you actually do consumption type models, cloud-like models for on-premise infrastructure, and just an incredible amount of assets or quality of assets at IBM. A scaled cloud, a multi-billion-dollar cloud, incredible on-premise assets with hypervisors and operating systems. So bringing those together to meet kind of if you look at IBM's core strategy, it's AI and hybrid cloud. And so the hybrid cloud piece is how do you actually deliver infrastructure, whether it be on premise or in the cloud, in a hybrid fashion. So that's a key part of our strategy and what I've been working on since I landed at IBM. We launched the first product, Power Virtual Server Private Cloud, in mid of this year, and then we've got a number of other offerings in the roadmap coming up. So lots of excitement around that. Matter of fact, we just launched some of that last week and spoke to it at our Tech Exchange event, which is sort of the technical sales event that we do annually in Vegas. So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing about IBM, you have so many awesome long time customers. So when you have a new kind of product announcement like that, I would imagine it's kind of easier than when you were at a startup, right? Bringing in a new solution, because they always know you, they already know you, like you, and trust you.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been amazed at the depth and breadth of some of the client relationships that we have. I mean, huge banks, telcos, government, healthcare and pharma, et cetera. I mean, just incredible relationships and depth of businesses. So you're right. You're absolutely right. And typically, if you got an IBM brand on your badge, you're not going to be turned away. Although what's been interesting is that we are reinventing ourselves with the AI and with the acquisition of Red Hat. We're actually a much more modern company than, in many cases, a lot of people think about us. So,
but being IBM, just must be easy street, right? Are there any challenges that you have on the go-to-market side?
Oh, I mean, it's never easy, right? There's tons of competition. Like I said, I mean, we have these incredible deep relationships, but I always like to call it extreme incumbency. We have incredible incumbent clients that love us. We just don't have enough of them. And so one of the big challenges that we want is that, how do we actually go get net new customers? How do we grow our customer footprint, both on the infrastructure, on the software, and ultimately the consulting services side? So that's probably our biggest challenge. And it's a initiative from the top down. Our CRO, Chief Commercial Officer, Rob Thomas, is driving that as an initiative, for IBM. And that's a big deal. And one of the exciting things about the as a service is it gives us a new, if you will, solution and offering to talk to customers, a different way to deliver infrastructure. So that's something that's part of a salesperson's kit bag now. So that's one. I'd say the other piece is, how do you actually pivot your culture to a annuity type, an ARR as a service selling model, as opposed to a transactional model where you're selling, specifically, hardware transactions. So that's also a big cultural change. How do you actually, manage the clients across a life cycle as opposed to a transaction, those types of things. So it's a big shift for us from a go-to-market perspective. And our partners also have to shift and move with us.
Gotcha. Amazing. And there are openings on the sales or go-to-market side?
I mean, not in my team, but IBM.com/careers. You can go out there. We're constantly hiring. There's a whole push to hire, younger, new talent, first and second jobs from a sales perspective. So take a look at that. If you see something that's interesting, hit me at chuckdoes@IBM.com, and I'll help you find the right boss and get get something moving.
Gotcha. Great. And then kind of from a culture perspective, you alluded to it a little bit before. So if you're a kind of 20 something or 30 something, IBM may not necessarily be on your kind of hit list of, kind of companies that you want to go to.
Yeah, I think that probably would be the perspective for, Gen Zers or what have you, but I can tell you it's not that at all. I mean, we have an incredible sales culture. There's an incredible field, and, our software assets, particularly whether it be Red Hat, the AI toolbox that we're selling. I mean, we just came out on Gartner Magic Quadrant for 4 different generative AI dimensions of the offering, and we're in the leadership quadrant, leading in 3 of 4 of those. So we really do have a modern tool set, and our strategy is amazing, actually. So, you can have extremely new conversations with clients about what we're doing in the AI side, and frankly, on the infrastructure side, our hybrid cloud assets, you can sell a cloud, you can sell on-prem, you can sell, storage, data. So we've got an incredible portfolio to sell, which to me, is one of the key things. Is if you got to have something interesting to sell to spark that client conversation. And like we talked about, the IBM brand is pretty hard to beat when you're walking into a client.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff for sure. It's somewhere too that you can go for a long time. I mean, right? So many of these, Gen Zers, okay, they're going to be somewhere for a year or 2 and leave, but IBM has always been known as somewhere where obviously people can always leave whenever they want, but they don't, because it can be such a great environment.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, that's one of the nice things. I mean, there's obviously great things about startups or small companies and the intimacy there, but the nice thing about IBM is, you can be in a sales role. I actually have, the organization that I run. One of the things I look for constantly is, can I take a sales rep and actually put them into a product manager and offering manager role and help bring the perspective of sales and sales enablement. It's obviously got to take the right person, but 2 of the people on my team are ex-salespeople. And the idea is you bring the ability to fuse go-to-market and sales. So the point is that there's lots of career mobility, different roles. You can do inside sales, outside sales, large company sales, territory sales, partner sales, across multiple businesses and technology. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity for career development.
Oh, awesome. And then jumping now into our title topic, GTM tips. You're kind enough to write a section in the book there. If LinkedIn didn't change it, we'd give you a link for you to get the books. Some of you may get hit up by my son Billy, who's in the off season from the White Sox. So I told him whatever he sells for books, he can keep.
So that's a help out Billy advertisement. Should we?
Exactly. So your topic was, don't forget what you are selling. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to go to first principles, when I think about that, and I've centered on 3 points. One, know the company you're selling to. You should be the subject matter expert, and that helps you be, valuable back to, either IBM or whoever you work for. The second thing is you got to know the offerings and products that you're selling. That's core. So know what you're selling to, know who you're selling to, and remember that you're selling yourself. So how do you present yourself? How do you show up? How are you responding? I mean, one of the things I learned from Randy Seidel is, turnaround time and response, and pushing, the company to respond to the client that you're leading. That's what gets you sales in the end. So you're selling yourself. So you're always putting your reputation out on the line when you're selling. And like I said, my big thing is to ensure that a sales rep has those things that we can, the company can support a sales rep, because you're the face of the company, and company doesn't do anything without revenue.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I forgot to mention earlier, so anybody that's watching or listening along, feel free to post any comments or questions that you have, and Tucker will help us pull those up. So I think you've always been in a great position. So you're kind of the bridge, right? So I know sales, I don't, but I know people in sales think you're a product person, and product people think you're kind of a sales.
Yeah.
So you have a unique perspective in terms of that bridge of those roles.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of where I landed from a career perspective. I've done a lot of things. I mean, I've led engineering and product organizations. I've led sales organizations. I ran the P&L. I ran a company. So I've got a wide range of experience. I ran supply chain for a few years in HP from an America's perspective. So I've owned a factory, multiple factories, frankly, owned services delivery. So I've got a wide ranging experience, but what I ended up settling on is sort of this tweener role, that go-to-market enablement, enabling the business model, enabling selling of typically new solutions or new ways to sell. And that's I end up being that bridge because I have enough, if you will, experience to push on the product guys and enough experience to help and drive the sales process. I do a lot of work in, obviously the new offering, but new positioning, channel programs, compensation, for new models and so on.
So diving into some of those, I mean, product market fit and positioning is vital. I mean, you could have two different companies that have the same thing, but the one that actually can position it appropriately with the sales team is obviously going to do much better in terms of where you're going to go, where you're not going to go. And I can remember at HP, of course, I can't remember what it was. What was the cloud in a box thing that we did?
Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix, right? Okay,
Yeah.
People were trying to go after these big deals, and then finally, I think we came up with, okay, there's a red zone and there's a green zone. There's no yellow zone. It's red and a green. If it's red, don't go there. If it's green, okay, here's what you go. But anyway, kind of the whole topic on product market fit and position.
Yeah, no, I think that matter of fact, that's super critical, right? The value prop, the product market fit, where is it going to be sold? Getting your initial clients. That's primarily one of my big roles, getting that first and second client, really learning from that, and then starting the flywheel of sales. That's critical, and the product market fit and how you do that, and actually being able to learn from mistakes, frankly, on this stuff, and being able to be agile in terms of how you can, because in some cases you're going to have to change positioning if your initial ideas and positioning doesn't work. And you constantly are doing that to get to, ramping and scaling a business or a particular offering. So absolutely. And then enablement of sales, ensuring they're trained, answering your questions, being responsive is absolutely critical.
Yeah. And on the positioning side, there's the speed and the feed, technology perspective, but then kind of the bigger and I would argue probably the harder thing is, okay, kind of what's really the value prop of whatever that speed or feed thing is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's the business value? What is the outcome that the clients can expect? How is it different from what they're doing today? So understanding what you're replacing or you're improving or what have you. I mean, that's absolutely critical in terms of how you're positioning a particular solution or offering. Right. I mean, it's what, the interesting thing, if we take that to this as a service, one of the big discussions is in part, it's a different way to pay for or finance your offering, right? So actually having the financial model down, helping the client understand that could potentially be treated as operating expense as opposed to capital expense. That whole positioning, I mean, has little to or nothing to do with the actual offering. It has a lot to do with the business model and the positioning. And in many cases, you're selling not just to technology and CIO, but you're selling to the business or the CFO. And that's a whole different decision maker.
Absolutely. And even being able to offer the choice between OpEx and CapEx, because depending upon how their budgets are structured, they may have more or less flexibility with one versus another.
Yeah, and I mean, that's absolutely right. But what we're seeing is more and more clients that are their budgets are operating expense based because they're shifting a significant amount of their IT spend to cloud, which typically is period or OpEx expense. And so you can tap into those budgets selling that for on premise. That's a huge benefit from a selling perspective. And in many cases, at least the types of applications and workloads that IBM's running, which is usually, your core SAP or your core Oracle or, you name it. I mean, we're, the systems of record in many cases for most of these companies. There's not a lot of excitement of moving that to the cloud or somewhere externally, but they want to have the same operating model. So that's the conversation that we're having with many of our clients and new clients, frankly, as well.
Wow. And then certainly, pretty much in most or all of your hats, channel's been a huge part of kind of your success as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you just look, I mean, if whether it be HP or Cisco or IBM, a significant percentage of the business always went through the channel, and the channel partners were critical. Had in many cases most of the client relationships. So we leverage partners, make sure that incentives and programs and predictability in terms of when it comes down to a deal, you're going to leverage the partner channel, even if it might not look good from a single transaction perspective. You got to do what's right by the partner, and we've been in that situation many times, and that's what takes, in my opinion, leadership. Mr. Dunsire and I have had many of those conversations when we were at HP, but we did the right thing, and that got us the next deal in many cases, right? So.
Awesome. And then a lot of times kind of the unsung heroes in the deals are really the pre-sales resources. Some people call them sales engineers, some people call them solution architects, but they're really vital. And a lot of times deals and sales don't happen without those.
Oh yeah, no, that's actually it is probably my favorite, sales audience. Both here at IBM and at HP, I spent a lot of time nurturing that community. I don't know if you ever remember, we did the Ambassador Summit for the technologists. I was a big sponsor of those teams. In many cases, the guys that were doing a lot of the training and enablement were on my teams. We funded the labs where they participated. We had the SWAT teams and so on. So we built out cultures of enabling those technologists, right, so that they were successful. And usually, like you say, they moved the needle as much or more, particularly on new technologies, as the sales reps did, right? I mean, it was obviously team selling, but the technologists help close the deal and bridge the value prop. So for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great program. I was just laughing. I can remember when you brought it up. I said, "Well, of course that's great." Like, well, how do you have that much money? You said, "Well, if there's something I really want to do, we're gonna go do it." I'm like, "Okay,
yeah, yeah.
That's a good lesson learned."
Yeah. Well, I mean, our mutual friend Mark Potter was absolutely at HP was a critical lever to get that. I mean, he knew the value of that community for sure.
Absolutely. And I should have reached out to him. I didn't even think about it. My bad. So if you're listening, Mark, sorry. Love you still. And then on the marketing, we all have kind of, a love or hate kind of relationship with marketing.
Yeah.
But, they're kind of a key cog if you can kind of get that, marketing engine going well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of orientation at IBM around focusing in on our key strategic areas of AI and hybrid cloud and positioning the brand. The brand gets a lot of funding for just that reason. But there's also a ton of work on demand gen and tactical spend, to drive transaction. And so that, that mix and the people that are driving that is super critical, right? Around whether it be announcements, whether it be enablement, whether it be events, all of that, programs. So I work very closely with, our marketing leads and marketing teams, all the time to ensure that we're leveraging that team. But you're right, it can be a love-hate relationship.
And you have the kind of the high level where you have like an Augusta or Wimbledon or US Open, type things that are, very brand centric, but then all the way down to, in the weeds, very product solution specific lead gen programs that you do as well.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is that I don't know if you saw the Wimbledon, if you saw the Watson X AI tools. So we deployed the Watson X AI toolkit, right, using that with a lot of the visuals. So kind of probability to win, and then a lot of the stats. Right. Similar to what you see on the baseball side with AWS. We were doing that. IBM was the toolbox for the Wimbledon and for US Open. We do that also with some of the Formula One events and so on. So, kind of infusing the product into the brand advertising is kind of it's sort of a new dimension, at least for IBM, but it's pretty powerful, right?
Oh yeah, very. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So then with a lot of this too, another key function area, we used to call it, sales ops. Now it's called rev ops, but being able to see not just kind of where you've been, but kind of through the windshield, kind of where you're going forward is vital as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're a huge not. I mean, Salesforce is a huge partner of ours, and you probably talked about this. I think you talked about it with Mohammed. The consulting team has a huge multi-billion-dollar relationship with Salesforce, and IBM is a kind of a lead in that. But we're a Salesforce shop through and through, and we use it for all sorts of reporting, predictive insights. We're adding in additional capability on the channel side. We continue to expand our capability for essentially our technology sales, which is software and infrastructure, and the consulting sales side. So yeah, but I mean, we couldn't survive without those tools.
Yeah. And on the kind of leveraging AI, a lot of people may not know, but you're kind of Watson X, right?
Yeah, I mean that's our. I mean, obviously that's our external offer, but even inside the house, we are leveraging Watson X for sales and support, for like support calls, and leveraging the remote support tools, leveraging Watson X. We've linked it into Salesforce, so now you can manage queries and so on much easier. The dashboards build automatically from AI queries. So we've infused Watson X, and I would say if you want to sell into IBM and you've got a tool, you've got to figure out how to incorporate or infuse the Watson X tools into your offering. Otherwise, it's not going to be of interest, because there's plenty of shops that are doing that, and we want to see how you're incorporating our technology in your offers, because we believe it's that powerful.
And then, so there's probably a subset of that actually appeals to, or should appeal to, CROs that IBM may or may not be selling to, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean that the primary path there is through Salesforce, but the tools are incorporated, we're not trying to supplant Salesforce, but the AI elements that are associated and enabled via Watson X are helping drive adoption of that tool. And then we've also got our RHEL AI products and assets. So with the Red Hat team has done a good job of incorporating the dev tools and all that as well from an AI perspective. So it's a pretty broad offering set that is all about delivering essentially what I would say enterprise grade AI, right? So how are you governing it? Where's the data? How do you indemnify the data, right? Which, if you think of your Chat GPT, where essentially it's not any question you ship into Chat GPT, Microsoft owns, right? So in some cases, the questions are just as proprietary as the answers, right? So you want to be able to indemnify that AI toolbox, right? And so that's something that we do. We do a lot of work around. We've got our own published models. We've got our own tools. It's called Instruct Lab, where we're generating synthetic data for some of this model generation and model tuning. So tons and tons of work going on. And then there's the infrastructure layer, which we're responsible for, is how do you actually deploy that? And we got that deployed in the cloud. We're going to have that be able to be on-prem over time. So there's all kinds of work going on to enable essentially the hybrid cloud and AI together.
Well, awesome. And along the way, you've had, I know, lots of mentors. Any kind of one or two in particular you want to shout out to, and any specific advice you can remember?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got one here on the line who's been a mentor to me around how to think about sellers. So I do appreciate that. But obviously we're friends too. But think of salesperson and salespeople as your client, your customer. I think Mark Potter, right, as well, right? Don't think about the solution today. Think about the solution tomorrow. What do what's the next thing? But execute on today. So Mark was always one. Rick Lewis has always been a great mentor for me, and it was an incredible treat just to get the call and hey, come join us. We're doing something interesting. And if you've been watching, IBM stock for the last two plus years, we've nearly doubled since I joined. So that's been not only good financially, but it's great to see the results the team's delivering. So
awesome, really good. I can remember when I got that call from Donatelli. He's like,
yeah,
hey, things that
yeah,
okay, I'll talk.
yeah.
Anyway, and then what about something I always like to ask advice to your younger self?
Oh man, I think the one thing is don't forget your network, because I will tell you, when I was at HP, I sort of took that for granted a little bit. And then when I left, there was obviously many of the ones that you mentioned, Bill and Dunsire and Al, were always, and yourself, were always willing to pick up the phone. But keep your network in tune, and keep it current as much as possible. And that's not just updating LinkedIn connections. That's actually talking to people, responding back and helping people along the way, because they're going to ultimately help you. So that's one. I think the other thing is that you can never have enough family time. You can never have enough time with your kids and your spouse. So to me, make sure that you don't forget that. We all have millions and millions of miles, but at one time I was commuting to Asia like every other week, so that that puts a damper on things. But so remember your family, remember to balance your life. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so much. It's easier now compared to what we had in the old days. The old days was there's a meeting, okay, you're on the plane and you're face to face. But leveraging Zoom is just it's got to have done so much for just the family life balance.
oh, it's incredible. And people don't really realize, right? But you're absolutely right, right? I mean, if you were in a meeting, you're on a plane, right? You couldn't even be doing what we're doing, right? I mean, it was a huge production, and now it's just it's on a browser. So yeah, that's been a big benefit. But the flip side is there's no substitute for face to face as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Which also gets lost right on the other side is then people get lazy and okay, want to just do the Zoom, and
Right.
those that can get out there and face to face and do some of that old school is just a huge value, right? You think about the know me, like me, trust me, and
Yeah.
Zoom's okay, and you got the company and everything else, but kind of the face to face is just so much that can get said and could get done off the record that it can be so helpful in sales situations.
Absolutely. Well, I think, we both know that if you're actually being relegated to Zoom all the time with your clients, you may not have the relationship you think you do.
There you go. Good. Great words of wisdom. So last question I'd like to ask for folks that I know, any PG Randy stories to share?
I've got plenty of stories. The PG ones, let's see. I would say that my favorite is my picture of Randy at the office. He's got his ski helmet on. We're on a lift going up, and he's on one call with another waiting, with both phones on either side of the ski helmet going up the lift. So, he's got his office a mobile. So I've got a picture of that somewhere with you on the phone and on the lift. So
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. So
hey, you're prioritizing the trip down at least. So yeah.
there you go. So certainly lots of great memories over the years, and look forward to several more. And amazing to see what you're doing with Rick at IBM, and I know he certainly appreciates your efforts.
Oh man, I'm excited. There's more to come. We're just now getting stuff into the field and getting to talk to clients and partners. That's the exciting part. So
awesome. So you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much. Thanks for Sandler for being the sponsor. For those that are not already members of Sales Community, you can go to salescommunity.com and join for free. Some of the upcoming guests we have, Kevin Guthrie, who runs sales at All Light next week. Week after that, John Hinshaw, who is a longtime CIO at HP, Verizon, bunch of other places. He recently was COO at HSBC, has a cool vineyard, Blackbird Vineyards, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then Monty Finkelstein, November 20th, he was longtime CIO, CTO, Citibank, now at Intel. Great guy. Dave Donatelli, who we both had the pleasure of working for. He is CEO of Riverbed. Dave Knorr, who also we know, a relationship guru and has a cool new relationship app, Avneer. And then Dan Belanger, who we also worked with.
Yeah.
Is now running the Americas at NICE. So good lineup between now and the rest of the year. So Chuck, you've been awesome. Thanks. Tucker, thanks for your help behind the scenes. And everybody have a great day and week, and happy selling.